I learned that modern adoption is really different from way back in the early 60s when I was adopted. More people are legally able to adopt. I mean, anyone in society, back then there was a very conventional paradigm, you know, two parents. It was a less progressive world. Now, I mean, that's a really positive thing, that it's opened it up to all sorts of people who could be fantastic parents. I learned that it's incredibly diverse from that point of view. I learned that it can be a lot easier than perhaps the tabloid myths would have it. And I also learned that there's a lot of people working in adoption, such as social workers, who do the most amazing job. Everyone's moving in the same direction. Everyone wants to help these fantastic children find loving homes. And when that happens, it's the most wonderful, magical thing. Well, it's the parents going through this particular process. They've very often they've been through a lot before the process begins, and they've decided to adopt. And I think there's a self-selecting thing about people who adopt. They desperately want to be parents, but they desperately want to have children. They desperately want to have a family. They desperately want to be great parents, and so they are great parents, and they are loving parents, and they're fantastic parents. But what I found out is that it can be a roller coaster, but 9 months of pregnancy can be a roller coaster. It is a challenge, but having children is a challenge, the most wonderful challenge. It's quite funny because one of the prospective adopters said to me just when we were having a cup of coffee, I'm a bit worried about when they're teenagers. And having teenagers myself, I said, you've got every right to. That's just what happens. That's what it's all about. That's having teenagers. Fantastic people, focused people, dedicated people. People want to reach that goal, that pot of gold, actually, at the end of the rainbow, because that's exactly what it is. And I wish them all so much luck. Well, I was adopted back in the early 60s. Basically, it's very different then because my dad Mum had a series of miscarriages. They already had a biological daughter, my sister. So he went along to the doctors, his friend Ronnie Cameron, and he said, "Oh, me and Sheila, we've been thinking about adopting. It's been difficult, and we've had a difficult time recently." And so it was all organised, obviously, through the relevant and proper authorities. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I had a fantastic family. Obviously I had, because of those, they were never secrets, the fact that I was adopted. And they had what information they had, but I had that kind of burning curiosity to find out, which I think now is not the same, there's not the same impetus on that, and I don't think there would be for an adopted child, because the less of a mystery it is, the more available the information is, the more at an appropriate age that you can access that information, the less of a burning psychological bubble inside you about to burst that it's ever going to become. But I had the most amazing adoption, the most amazing family, and the day I was adopted that was when I won the lottery. The positive effects being adopted had on my life. We are, as human beings, programmed for many things. One of them is love, and one of them is to nurture. And belonging is so much more important, I think, in my mind, to the beginning. And I've been through it all. I've done the nurture-nature thing. I've satisfied my curiosity. I've met some amazing people. But I'll tell you, one of the things is I was lucky enough to do the program Who Do You Think You Are a few years ago. It was about my adoptive dad. And that was hugely more emotional than my birth search. My birth search was emotional and it was intriguing. But the connection through my life with the man who picked me up when I grazed my knee, the man who made me better, was so much more powerful. And I didn't need to realize it because I knew it, but it illustrated it for me. That's the magic and the power and the incredible alchemy of adoption.